Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister expresses sadness and condolences to the families of those who perished in the tragic accident over the weekend. Trinidad and Tobago hosts second UNESCO Forum of Ministers of Social and Sustainable Development in the Caribbean. And the Transport Minister reveals plans to clear the $8.1 million debt owed by Caribbean Airlines. Thank you for joining us to our top story. Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Bissessar has expressed her profound sadness and condolences to the families of those who perished in the tragic accident and to the relatives of Acting Chief Justice Wendell Kangaloo, who was seriously injured.
Profoundly saddened by the news of a very devastating accident which has left 4 persons dead and Acting Chief Justice Wendell Kangaloo in very critical condition. I am profoundly saddened by this news, and I express my sympathies and condolences and my prayers to the victims, to the families of those victims. I think this brings into focus the great need for caution on our roads, greater caution on our roads, because in 1 second, in 1 instant, peace and happiness is taken away from so many. And so I have spoken with Dr. Sharma at the Mount Hood Hospital with respect to Justice Wendell Kangaloo and been updated on his condition. I have also spoken with his mother, who was at the hospital at the time. Should there be need to appoint an acting Chief Justice, certainly we will take the steps that are necessary. But in the interim, whilst we await Chief Justice Ivor Archie, it is our respectful view that there may be no need at this point in time for another person to be acting. Again, our prayers with Justice Kangaloo, and our condolences and sympathies and prayers with the families of the other victims. I think there are 2 sides to this issue. There is the issue of the regulatory enforcement, which is a matter for the government, and of course for those involved in traffic control. You may recall that recently Minister Warner, as Minister of Works and Transport, had appointed several traffic wardens. So we are taking steps in that regard and looking at strengthening regulations. But there's the other side of it, which has to do with the citizen himself, with the driver who is behind that car, behind that wheel in the car. So it has to be a 2-way street that must meet to ensure greater protection for persons on our roads, on the nation's roads. So it cannot just be enforcement. Yes, that is one side of it. It also has to be with respect to persons exercising greater care and caution on the nation's roads.
This year marks the second UNESCO Management of Social Transformations, MOST, Forum of Ministers of Social and Sustainable Development in the Caribbean. And for the next 3 days, the theme is Promoting Equity and Social Inclusion, Pathways to Prosperity for All. The aim is to ensure that the regional public authorities, policy makers, social science researchers, and representatives of civil society in attendance will use the opportunity to discuss developmental challenges and the best practices which can assist in engendering a stronger unified regional body. Speaking at the event was Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honorable Glenn Ramadharsingh.
The Social Development Minister says equity and social inclusion are regarded key elements in promoting a framework that facilitates efficient and effective protection networks. He says it therefore calls for regional and national development policies to embody social inclusion as a central priority.
Equity is the cornerstone of society, involving access, participation, and self-determination for all our citizens. Access speaks to the rights of citizens to education, resources, and livelihood. And we have our Minister of Education heavily involved with us. They must also enjoy full participation in the political and cultural life of the community. And finally, it requires citizens who are enabled with self-determination, which support intrinsic tendencies to behave in effective and helpful ways. And therefore, it is in the spirit of our search for equity that our Prime Minister has done 3 initiatives that really speaks to that issue. In our country, no child dies for the need of life-saving surgery since the advent of our Prime Minister. Every parent of every home is entitled to up to $1 million for life-saving surgery, whether you are a fisherman in Ikakas or a taxi driver in Maruga.
As a result, the minister is highlighting the critical role the Ministry of the People and Social Development plays in human development.
In Trinidad and Tobago, the Ministry of the People and Social Development is the core social sector agency. We have embraced the responsibility of coordinating and implementing government's social and human development objectives. The overarching goal of our ministry is to ensure the effective and efficient functioning of the human and social sector. Preference is given to the poor and disadvantaged. While the government has outlined 7 interconnected pillars for sustainable development, the ministry is guided by 3 of the pillars which focus on human development. The first, people-centered development, focuses on human and social development, including diversity, wellness, and competitiveness. The second pillar, poverty eradication and social justice, preference for the poor and disadvantaged. And finally, good governance, people participation.
Verna Barath, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
Hello, ever thought of cutting your TSTT business landline costs? It's simply a smart choice to make, only from Blink. One fixed monthly rate for bundled local minutes, bundled mobile minutes, bundled international minutes, and many free calling features. All wrapped up to save you a bundle. Smart choice, only from Blink. A bundle of joy.
Thank you for staying with us. Transport Minister Senator the Honorable Devant Maharaj has revealed that plans are being put in place to clear the $8.1 million debt owed by Caribbean Airlines. Minister Maharaj was speaking at the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago's website launch, where AATT's chairman Gerald Hadid was also present. More from Verna Barath.
The issue of the debt to Caribbean Airlines for the space that they owe, I think also Mr. Hadid has to be commended. The space that they owe, and let me reiterate, the figure that was given in the Parliament a couple of weeks ago of $8.1 million, I repeat, has to be taken into proper context. When BW was transformed into Caribbean Airlines, the rate the airport charged per square meter changed, also transformed. The smart board of Airport Authority decided that as the name changed, the price could change too. So they moved from 50 cents to 250. Of course, the smarter board, the smarter board of Caribbean Airlines decided they're not paying the 250. So the PNM appointed chairman of Airport Authority could not agree with the PNM appointed Caribbean Airlines board. And that went on for the last 5 years, no agreement. In the meanwhile, the debt was accumulating. And it has reached a figure of over $8 million. I'm pleased to announce that under the stewardship of Mr. Hadid and now Mr. Moonan at Caribbean Airlines, that a resolution is near at hand of settling this debt that has been long outstanding and been a burden to both Caribbean Airlines and Airport Authority.
Transport Minister Senator the Honorable Devant Maharaj clarifying how the US $8.1 million debt by Caribbean Airlines amounted in the first place. Meanwhile, the minister is also commending the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago for launching its new website. He says via the initiative, the public will be educated and informed of the plans, achievements, and new services of the authority.
While we talk about the website being launched today, and this is an initiative which will yield tangible benefits as for the community and public at large, will be able to have up-to-date information on the activities of the airport as well as the airlines that operate here. The business community will have up-to-date information. It will also provide the media and general public with other information on the authority and even provide an opportunity for some sort of feedback. So if you're not happy with the activities of Mr. Birju and Mr. Hadid, you could tell them by sending them an email via this website and copy me, so I would know what the complaints are. The corporate website, tntairports.com, will highlight links to information on flights, flight information, business-to-business opportunities. And as they develop the aviation business park, this link might come more and more important. And finally, the airport authority is in step with 2012. They will be exploring, or having explored, going into Facebook, catching up with the rest of Trinidad and Tobago.
The minister is also revealing plans for Tobago's airport. He says the aim is to transform the A&R Robinson International into a world-class airport.
The airport in Tobago, we continue with the plans to make it a first world airport. We hope to have a VIP lounge in that area, and a VIP not only for international travelers, because it is my feeling that the passenger flow between Trinidad and Tobago is much more in terms of numbers, and as such we should have probably a lounge between Trinidad and Tobago passengers, so as to make their flight in between the islands as comfortable as possible.
AATT's chairman, Gerald Hadid, says the objective of the website redesign is to establish an IT platform that will reflect the new strategic direction of the authority. AATT's web design is expected to improve user interactivity and involvement and include relevant technologies, features, services, and associated links. He is also revealing initiatives which have already been implemented to reduce lines at check-in counters, while also announcing future plans to improve AATT's service.
The use of information communication technologies has been a critical element of the marketing communication mix and strategy of the airport. We have introduced the self-service check-in kiosks to reduce lines at check-in counters and to promote greater efficiency in the check-in process. We have launched the travel network service of Flows Cable Channel 868, which gives flights information as part of your basic cable package. Soon we will introduce a facility where you can send text messages to require flight information and benefit from the service of automated telephone attendance. Our objective is to improve customer service delivery and to implement programs to position our airports to achieve competitive advantages over other airports in the region.
Verna Barath, News 4.
Several Talparo La Joqueta residents in need of financial assistance to repair damages sustained to their homes due to natural disasters received grants from the MP for the area Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Jairam Simangal. As the MP explained, distributing the grants to citizens meant providing a better standard of living for residents in the constituency in keeping with government's mandate to serve the people. Kimberly Ramkalawan has more.
20 Talparo households received home repair grants that would aid them in mending damages to their homes sustained during natural disasters. MP for the La Joqueta Talparo District Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Jairam Simangal, was on hand for the distribution of the grants and said such assistance will also aid in the building up of the community.
Apart from giving these social grants, there are lots of other activities that are taking place in the constituency. Apart from building the houses, the infrastructure, we are working also to build a community and a village, a single family unit within La Joqueta Talparo, which will also assist me in alleviating and bringing down the crime.
The helping hand provided was as a result of the collaboration between the Self-Help Commission and the MP's office.
I want to congratulate again and thank the Self-Help Commission for listening to your cries and delivering to you within a timely manner. Despite the fact that you may feel, some of you, that 2 months is long, there have been people here, there have been people who are waiting 2 years and 3 years to receive grant, and they have never received it. A lot of you, some of you have came to me and said that I've applied for grants some 5-6 years ago and I've never received it. And within 2 months of application and less, some of you have applied less time, you have received your grant today.
Its needs like this found in rural communities, the MP noted, was also worthy of attention, a service he expressed pleasure in being able to provide to members of his constituency.
This constituency is one which is poised in the center of Trinidad. but it has also been one in which have been mostly neglected in the entire of Trinidad. And over the last 2 years, I've been working diligently to uplift the standard of living of the constituents. And by uplifting the standard of living of the constituents, the adult in the constituency, I am seeing the fruits of these, where the children are now progressing and benefiting by way of sporting activities in which we are having in the constituency.
Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
More news after the break.
Personal music players can stop you from being aware of your surroundings. Always be aware of your surroundings and periodically look over your shoulder to prevent anyone from sneaking up on you. Remember, crime prevention is everyone's business. A message from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Welcome back. The Bar of Chaguanas is being transformed to accommodate several government ministry headquarters as well as a University of the West Indies open campus. This as several government ministers gathered at Nasalu Ramaya Trace in Chaguanas for the unveiling of the signage and dedication of lands to commemorate the construction of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Complex and the UE Open Campus.
Trade and Industry Minister Stephen Cadiz is announcing that government is well on its way to achieving its goal of transforming the entire country and creating a better quality of life for all citizens. This from Trade and Industry Minister Stephen Cadiz, who was speaking at the unveiling of the signage and dedication of lands to commemorate the construction of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Complex and the UWI Open Campus. Minister Cadiz is also announcing the establishment of the headquarters for the Ministry of Community Development to the Borough of Chaguanas.
Besides the open campus for UWI, besides the headquarters of the Ministry of Science and Tertiary Education, besides, Minister Bash is going to smile when I say this because I'm making a public commitment to him to house for the headquarters of the Ministry of Community Development. In addition to that, we will be housing a number of the agencies that come under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We're looking at the Business Development Corporation, the Free Zone Company, Exim Bank, the Film Company, the Entertainment Company, the Trade Licensing Unit of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and of course ETEC's own Asset Management Company. Because right now, even though ETEC owns lands and develops lands all over, we are still a tenant on somebody else's property.
Minister Cadiz says Chaguanas is well on its way to becoming the country's new city, adding that the borough is by far the fastest growing community in the country.
Whether you're living in Point Fortin, or you're living in Mayaro, or you're living in Tobago, you still have to, if you want to deal with these services right now, you have to go into Port of Spain. And of course, we all know the situation with traffic. I know of people who will not accept a job in Port of Spain because they're not going to do that 2-hour commute. 1 way, 2 hours, 2 hours the other way. They refuse to do it. So when you bring your services into the central part of this country, then you're opening up a huge amount of opportunities for all the people of this country. So without a doubt, this is a red letter day for Chaguanas, and as we know, Chaguanas has been moving. I have had my business place in Chaguanas since 1987, and the development in this area, from both south of what we know as Chaguanas Main Road and north, in all areas, the development has been phenomenal. And Chaguanas is going to be, I would assume, the next city in Trinidad and Tobago.
The minister adds that in just 1 year and a half, the facilities will be opened. The MSTTE complex to be located at the site will house the offices of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, the National Training Agency, the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Youth Training and Employment Partnership Program.
We're taking education seriously. We understand what it is going to mean to develop our human capital. So, ladies and gentlemen, again today a red letter day. All of you who are here will not forget this day. When you drive past here, and I hope that within 18 months, Minister, and we're not going down into any long 8-year and 10-year drawn-out construction. This government is not about that. This government is start and finish your project. It is not about this lengthy drawn-out process. So I hope that in 18 months' time, we will be right back here at the opening of the new UE campus and the opening of the headquarters of the Ministry of Science and Tertiary Education, and the opening of the headquarters of the Ministry of Community Development, and the opening of the new business park for e-tech.
Veena Bharath, News 4.
The West Indies put up a valiant effort but still went down on the 5th day of the first test versus England at Lord's. The hosts were in a tricky position of 10-2 at the end of the 4th day's play, and the Windies were hoping for a combination of good bowling and luck to give them a rare away test victory as England chased 191 to win. After the West Indies made further inroads early on the final day by removing Jonathan Trott and Kevin Peterson, both for 13, the West Indies were in with a slim chance as the English were at 57 for 4, following the wicket of the dangerous Peterson. But Alistair Cook and Ian Bell steadied the innings, and by the time Cook was out for 79, England was already celebrating victory with the score on 189 for 5. Bell remained not out on 63 as the home team won the match by 5 wickets. The second test begins on Friday at Trent Bridge. Switching to football, before Defence Force handed Caledonia a 5-2 trouncing to take the Pro Bowl, Real Dimension FC met Trin City National in a Premier Division clash of the Trinidad and Tobago Women's League. Wayne Cunningham has the highlights from that match.
Real Dimension were hoping to rebound from a first-round loss to Tobago when they met a young and gritty Trin City National team in the Women's League football. The scores were tied up at 1 apiece, and Trin City seemed to be holding their own against the Belmont outfit. Then came this strike from Durnell Maskell. The national midfielder hitting well to beat Tricia Pascal after good work from Alenia Bergen. 2-1, Real Dimension. They were coming into their own, and Maskell looked like scoring again as he surged forward from midfield, but the shot was poor. Only good defending from Bernal Shea saved the Trin City from falling further behind as Janine Francois sneaked in. It was just a matter of time before that defense would be breached, and was done by Rhea Belgrave as she bundled the ball in. Afia Matias then poked in another. Matias showing good skill to give her team a 4-1 lead at halftime. In the second half, Trin City got the ideal opportunity to get back into the match after Chanel Warwick was fouled by the keeper in the penalty area. Warwick got up and easily made it 4-2. But any hopes of a comeback by Trin City were dashed when Real Dimension skipper Janine Francois made a weaving run to set up this Rhea Belgrave goal. 5-2. The final score in favor of Real Dimension. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
More news after the break. Welcome back. Government will honor long-serving members of the public service this year as it marks its 50th year of independence. Public Administration Minister, the Honorable Caroline Persad made the announcement during the weekly post-cabinet media briefing, adding that her ministry was on the threshold of ushering the modern era into the sector. Kimberly Ramkalawan has more.
Public servants serving the nation with distinction for over 50 years will be recognized at a special ceremony on June 23rd. Public Administration Minister Caroline Persad announced that Cabinet had approved the activities to coincide with the 50th anniversary of independence.
There will be a gala event. The theme of that gala event is from gold to diamond. As we know, June the 23rd is designated date of the United Nations as Public Service Day. Why from gold to diamond will honor the 50th anniversary of the public service by recognizing and rewarding public officers who have served the nation with distinction. We will use the opportunity at that gala event to also emphasize the government's vision for moving the public service forward, particularly with respect to modernization of the human resource architecture of the civil service.
Under this, ministries will be required to showcase achievements present and past in each sector.
During the last 50 years, the public service has served as government's primary mechanism for implementing and executing its policies and for providing public services to citizens and the wider community. Therefore, coordinated by the Ministry of Public Administration, all ministries and departments will, among other activities, showcase their services and achievements to the public during the week of June the 18th to June the 22nd, 2012. As I indicated, ministries will be required to showcase the different public sector entities, their history, very important, present services, plans and achievements.
She highlighted plans to modernize the public service through a partnership formed with the Canadian government.
The public service right now is structured very bottom heavy with a number of clerical streams. But with what is expected in terms of the new output-based budgeting system, which is part of the transformation initiative, we are going to require more delegation of authority, something that is being clamored for so long of the public service, that there's delegation and devolution of decision-making and authority in the public service. In order to facilitate that, there must be a strengthening of the professional streams within the public service, which will be at the center of the organization.
Public servants have expressed a desire to grow and move upwards in the various sectors, as they too have taken the time to educate themselves. Something government is looking to achieve as it looks to restructure the clerical system in the public service towards a work management support system. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our news.